Looks like we're live. Or if I can get this orientation thing sorted out. Well, anyway, I don't know if I can. It might be better to do it like this anyway. So, what am I up to? Well, I am working on the GSXR 600. Ta-da! So, what I am up to is so what I've done is I put together, the intro video, welcome GSXR 600. And I was talking about doing like how-to videos and stuff like that. The only problem with that, well, let me scoot this back a little bit. I got a little bit ahead of myself with all of that. So I figured I would make sure that I brought y'all along for the ride because, well, we're kind of already in the middle of that. So anyway, I wanted to bring you guys along for this. You're going to help me work on this thing tonight and think of it more like a how-to, but we're going to do a how-to live. Let me check it with you guys. RMAC is in. Skywalker's in. What's up, y'all? Ryan's got the ball guy with the flex and the specs. I like it. So I'll bring you guys over here so you can see what I am up to. I am right now pulling the airbox off of this thing. Or I say off of it, just getting it, getting the lid off. I'm gonna check this thing for, check the filter on this bike. So anytime you're getting your mitts on a used motorcycle, these are gonna be the things that you're gonna need to do. And any of the maintenance type items. Now, this bike, and this is kind of a thing for an upcoming video, but man, my boy Hunter hooked me up with this bike. And here's the thing. Check this out. Bit of a spoiler alert. Guys, I have 22 pages of history on this bike. Can you believe that? This bike was bought at Stubbs Cycles in December of 2014, if you can believe that. 13 years ago, basically. 12 years ago, whatever it is. Math is hard. Anyway, long time ago, and ever since then, anytime this motorcycle has had any kind of work done to it, it's been by the team over at Stubbs Cycles over the last over a decade. So, it's kind of interesting, the bike doesn't have that many miles on it. And that's both a good thing and a bad thing. It's a good thing because it obviously doesn't have that many miles on it. But what happens is anytime, especially motorcycles, but anytime anything sits with ethanol gas in it, it can just absolutely ruin every kind of component that's in these bikes, whether it's like fuel system related stuff, anything. So this bike actually has had, I don't know if they removed the engine, but they had to do a full top end cleaning on this bike. And the whole reason for that was because of ethanol contamination. So this bike was not only completely field stripped, but literally had to have the cylinder head removed, valves had to be cleaned up because of that ethanol contamination. So the whole reason why I'm saying all of that, like for you guys that watch this stuff, for the live shows, the whole reason why I'm getting into this is because one of the videos that I'm going to be putting together is it's a video that's going to be going over best practices in buying a motorcycle, and in particular, best practices in buying pre-owned. And it's real important that you get or can get some level of history. And in this case, like I say, I got 22 whole ass pages. That's a lot of history. But every bike is going to have a history, in that just because it has low miles, this bike is, 2013, it's 2026 now. it doesn't mean that, well, everything is just okay and perfectly serviceable. As we are dealing with this E10 gasoline, it can eat everything up. And again, this bike had some extensive work that was done to it because of that. But what we're doing tonight is, well, I've installed the slip-on already. Kind of got ahead of myself with that. We've got the New Rage tail tidy that's also going to be going on the bike. That's the whole reason for this little area over here to be apart. I've been cleaning this thing up, just trying to get it all set up and get it looking pretty. But I will say this, I have already had a chance to get this bike out. And yeah, she is a running little girl. So indicated, put it to you like this, indicated on the speedo, she'll do over $150 and she'll do it very, very easily. It's a funny thing about these Gixxer middleweights, the suspension setup is so good from the factory. I don't have to touch anything on this bike. It's got a brand new set of Bridgestone R22 tires, which y'all know is my favorite set of tires for these types of bikes. But guys, I just throw a leg over this thing, ride it, it rips. Man, I love this bike. So anyway, I got to grab a 10 mil because of course I do. So y'all chat amongst yourselves while I try to geolocate that thing. You know, I had all of these parts already kind of queued up, but I got real excited, you know, because I was working on this thing. Anyway, before I do that, let me check in with you guys real quickly. RMAX in, so is the next bike a Royal Enfield Continental GT with a big bore kit? Don't tempt me. Not yet, though. Got to recapture some budget here. It's like when you buy a new car, always new fluids. Oh, yeah, always plugs and everything. Rev up. Hunter's watching. Great bike. What's up? Loving it. Scott Walker's saying, loving the colorway on this bike. Okay, so check this out. The color, what did I do? Did I hit a weird button on the lighting here? So the colorway on this bike, as it turns out, this colorway, if this were a 2007 GSXR 600, would have been the exact same colorway, which would have been the bike that I had on my first day at Thunder Hill. Also, fun fact, when you see my GSXR 750 on the thumbnails or whatever, it also was basically the same colorway. So, just kind of pulled at my heartstrings a little bit. So it could not have been a better bike for me just because of, it's exactly the bike that I was looking for. So sweet. But one of the things about this bike though, the 600s, that I absolutely love is that, you know, there's so many folks that would say that a 600 is, you know, it's not fast enough, right? Or it doesn't do something enough. And then you start talking about like any other bike that's out there, some kind of crazy fast naked or whatever the case is. I gotta say, guys, I absolutely love riding the 600s and love the 750s too. So you'll never hear me ever downplay any of these bikes, but whenever I throw a leg over one of these things, it's like I'm home, you know? So yes, the intrusive thoughts. So, okay, here's another thing. If you guys haven't noticed, I've done, with my ride reviews at the world famous Stub Cycles in beautiful Houston, Texas, I've done I think I've done three GSXR 600 riding reviews. One of the very first bikes that I did for the channel for riding reviews was a 2023? I think it was a 2023 GSXR 600. Stock exhaust with this exact slip-on, a little GP style slip-on. Sounds so good. Matter of fact, go ahead and give you guys a quick sound check. Anyway, it sounds really good. I don't want to run it too much indoors. I mean, I'd like to keep, I don't want to get too high, right? But Anyway, it does sound really, really good, but it's kind of a sedated good. Like, it's not crazy loud. I'm still going to be running the cats, at least for the foreseeable future, on this bike, mainly because they're not really a performance. They don't take anything away from the 600s. It's the same catalytic converter that the 750s use. And because of that, it's just not as taxed from a flow demand standpoint. Not to mention, putting a full exhaust on a bike like this, look, you'll go from, say, 104, 105 horsepower to the rear tire to maybe 110, 112. It's not like you're collecting horsepower leaps and bounds the way that you do on, well, let me show them all snuggled up over here, the way that you do on some of those, right? So because of that, you would be getting away with maybe a weight savings, but not so much a performance gain, really. Oh, here's another thing. By the way, fun fact. So this bike holds the record now for longest rolling burnout, and it's set it not once but twice, and I didn't catch it. But here's the thing. So when I first rode this bike, it had these GPR 300s on them that were admittedly pretty shot, right? I did this long ass rolling burnout right in front of Stubbs Harley Davidson with it. Well, when I got the bike back to the shop with the new R22s, S22s, they are not RS11s. Anyway, right in front of the shop, I went to go scuff the tires in and they hadn't been run in yet at all. And I get onto the street right out in front of here, did the exact same thing and just carried the first, second, and third gear rolling burnout with this thing. So it is so far winning that not once but twice. Oh, Armac saying he hit it on the last live show when he did the picture of his old color scheme. Yep, there it is. Dell's in saying, I feel you. I have missed riding Gixxers so badly. Probably why I'm still up right now watching bike content as I wait for my 750 delivery. Oh, man, that's always a good one, right? I mean, the anticipation. What do they say? The waiting is the hardest part. I love it, though. Deal's asking, where did you get that round-ended take prop? Oh, this thing. You know what? Okay, so check this out. You know, I collect some of these specialty tools. Get to your Suzuki dealership and ask them for the tank prop for GSXR 1000, 750, 600. And I don't have the part. Hang on, let me see if I got the part number. Hang on. Oh, please. No, I don't. Actually, I thought I had the part number for it. I actually only have the part number for the gizmo that you use to reset your check engine lights. Or, I'm sorry, your service lights. But yeah, you can get if you look up GSXR 1000 a gas tank prop, you should be able to find it. Dell's asking, what is my favorite aftermarket slip-on exhaust and full exhaust for Gixxers? Damn, that's a good question. So, knee-jerk reaction to that is an M4, although for the Gixxer middleweights, M4 is changing the design a little bit to make it a little bit easier to install. I got a chance to help with that. So, well, not because I was asked to, but because of an install issue. So I got involved. I involved myself. How about that? Well, I prefer the M4s. This is, by the way, here, let me scoot you guys back so you can see what I'm up to. There we go. So can y'all see that? The slip-on that is on this bike, right down here, is a clone of an M4. So it's not the actual M4, but it's a clone of the GP M4. And just put it to you like this. All it has to do is fit on the end of the chamber that the catalytic converter is in. I don't know if you guys remember, but I did a video where I was showing that the bread basket, which is the black thing that hangs underneath the bike, it looks like a big muffler. People will call that the catalytic converter. That's Yeah, kind of true. The catalytic converter, the biscuit that makes the catalytic converter, does protrude into that chamber, but it's just a big hollow box with a spigot sticking out of it. Oh, let me just show you guys this too, in case you're wondering about tunes or does it need a tune or whatever. The factory exhaust, the can itself, I don't know if you guys can see with the overhead light. I don't think get it in there. This thing flows like crazy. It doesn't have a straight through design, so I can't see you guys from here, but it doesn't really matter. This thing flows especially for a 600, like you would not believe. I mean, if I blow into this thing, there's literally no resistance. It's not like it's baffled or anything like that. This offers up zero restriction. So all you're getting out of something like that is just a little bit of noise. So yeah, don't worry about that. It doesn't require a tune. The bike doesn't even know that this thing is on there, much less that thing. Believe me when I tell you. All right, let me check back in with you guys. Aaron's asking, compared to an R6, which is better and faster? Okay, so the R6 has a lot more trick components on it. So by that measure, I guess the R6 is better, question mark? I've ridden an R6, but it's been about a Brazilian years ago. It's a fast bike, but it's not as grunty as the GSXRs are. I would say that on track, depending on the track, you would probably, maybe, possibly want an R6. I don't know. It just depends. Look, here's the thing. There's not a better or faster, especially in this class. They're all what I would call height weight proportionate. You've heard me talk about bikes like chicks, right? Well, in this class, they're all basically the same height and the same weight. There might be some variances one to the next that might make you like one more than the other, but in reality, they're all going to perform roughly the same. It's just whichever bike you're the most comfortable with. Myself, I mean, I think it speaks for itself, right? But the thing is that if you find yourself more comfortable, the bike just kind of fits you better, then you're going to be faster on that bike, even though objectively it may make less power or the gearing isn't aggressive or blah, blah, blah. It's that they're so close that they turn into nitpicks. They're all fast. And like I say, this thing covered a mile an hour today that I didn't think it was going to cover on an indicated speedometer thing. So anyway, I like them all. I don't really want to, I can't say one is better than the next per se. Oh, Neil's saying, I got one from Suzuki, but the end is not round. It's L-shaped. I really don't know. Oh, there was one that would go into the stem on the triple. So maybe you got that one. Marco's saying hi, hello. Let me get you guys back over here, and I'm going to keep screwdrivering over here. Bear with me. There we go. Now everybody gets seasick because that thing's moving around. All right, back at it. Oh, I was going to get my 10 millimeter and I got distracted because that's easy for me to do. Hold it, please. So yeah, this one's coming along nicely so far. By the way, what I'm doing is I am in the process of pulling the airbox. I keep saying the airbox. I'm pulling the lid off of the airbox. You guys, let me bring you guys over to see what I am doing. Hopefully this helps. There we go. Maybe that'll help. I am pulling the lid off of the airbox. We're going to get in here and check the air filter. Now, you saw where I put the thing, right? The ratchet. You saw me put it in my pocket. Now, if I wouldn't have had you here to help me look for it here in a minute, I will not remember that I just flipped that thing around and put it in my pocket. So I'll be looking all over the place. So this is a little bit self-serving. I have, by the way, lost the key to this bike, not once, but twice. Give you one guess where it was one of the first times. It was in my pocket, of course. These bikes are, yeah, this is one of the reasons why Gixxer middleweights are just so good. They're extremely easy to work on. It's almost like, you know, somebody looked at it and said, oh yeah, we need to make a bike that's easy. That's this one. You can get to the ECU super easy if you need to get it reflashed. Oh, top tip on these air boxes too. These things are the screws are kind of caged in here. I have gone to pop this thing off and had one of these back screws go flying. I still haven't located that thing. I have no idea where it went in the blue 750. So I actually had to get a new screw for that. But I guess the point that I'm making is don't just go flicking this thing around. Make sure when you set it down, you don't just like flick it. Because if you do, you'll end up losing 2 or 3 of these things. Ask me how I know. All right. Taking a look at the, get over here. Taking a look at, well, this sucker is on here. Woo! Oh, she is dirty. But here's what I want to show you guys. Okay, look. That's a dirty air filter, right? We got chunks in here, we got bugs, we got all kinds of dirty and McNasty in here, right? But here's what I want to show you guys and why it's so important that you, well, let me just show you what I'm talking about first. Hopefully this will come up on camera. Bear with me, guys. This is one of those do as I say, not as I do moments, by the way, too. Let me get you guys down in here so you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, check this out. You all see what I'm doing? A little bit. I want you to see how dirty the inside of the airbox is on this bike. And this is actually a good thing. The reason why this is a good thing is, see all that silt, that dirt that's in here? That did not make it into the throttle bodies, which are right here in back. Let me show you guys. There we go. That's probably, oh, that's a way better shot. Okay, so check it out. So as I'm going through and I'm cleaning everything up on this bike, and this is stuff that you're gonna need to do when you get a pre-owned motorcycle yourself. There's a ton of work like this that you're just going to want to do. And this is showing you why it's so important to use a factory style air filter. The higher flow units are going to allow a ton of this very fine, and I don't know if I'm doing this any justice, but look how fine that is on my finger. Like, that is crazy. It's like, it's got the consistency of like chalk almost, like pool chalk, right? So I'm going to get all this cleaned up, but it's just another way to show you guys that, you know, those high flow filters, then you don't get any power out of them. It's at least not on a 600 for sure. 750, it's marginal at best. But if you've got one of those filters and you don't maintain it, number one, or number two, just run a factory air filter. I mean, listen, I've outrun pretty much every bike, every race I've ever ran has been with a factory air filter, and it hadn't ever suffered any consequences for that. So, wait a minute. Is that right there right? I guess it is. I was looking at the throttle bodies. Normally, hold on a second. Crazy. Normally the inside throttle bodies are the taller ones. I don't know. This bike runs pretty good. Might have to investigate that a little bit. Anyway. Oh, fun fact. This bike does have the ride-by-wire. It's funny. It's got a dual has a dual throttle body setup. So it does still need to have, that's interesting. Huh. I wonder, can they even fit? No, this is kind of funny. And by the way, you never know who ends up working on some of these things because, and this is no joke, I have, you're always going to find like miscellaneous electronics and things like that when you're working on one of these bikes. But you never really know what you're going to find when you start to crack open these bikes, especially 13 years later. Right now, I'm just looking at the ECU to see if it had any stickers on it. I don't think this bike had ever been tuned though, because the thermostats are kicking on the way that they normally would, or the thermostats, the fans are kicking on the way that they normally would. So that part, in other words, the when they turn on and turn off the high and low speed fans, they're all acting like normal for a stock bike. But it's always fun to check. All right, I'm going to get to cleaning the inside of this thing. Hang on a second. It's kind of funny. It's like, what do you use to clean this stuff? You know, are there any special cleaners or something like that? No. Just hit it with some Armor All and wipe it out, wipe it clean, and then wipe it dry. You'll be in good shape. Oh, let me check in with you guys real quick. Ooh, I blew all the way past you guys. Let's see. Oh, man, I just messed up over here. Here we go. Armac saying, I keep telling the old lady professor or why I buy more bikes and bike parts. I blame you. You have total permission to use me as an excuse for anything, I promise. Oh, Aaron's saying, thank you so much for the answer. You are welcome. Marco's asking, thoughts on GSXR 600 crash cage race rolls for the track? Man, frame sliders and let it go with that. The reason why I say that is crash cages, they kind of get in the way, especially when you start dropping pretty significant lean angles. You don't want the extra mass and the extra stuff. I don't necessarily mind frame sliders, although I don't really run frame sliders on any of my bikes except for my dad's bike. It's just, and that's just because they're on there. I've been on that bike since forever. But I guess where I'm going with this is I would prefer to not see that stuff on a track bike because, again, it can kind of get in the way. Carl is in. Oh, Deedle's saying, the velocity set. Oh, so the long ones are on the outside? Is that what you're saying? I've never cracked open one of these things, not one of the newer bikes. So this is brand new for me too. So yeah, if you're saying the long ones are on the outside, I don't think, it'd be kind of hard, I guess, to transpose the two, maybe. But okay, cool. Hey, you learn something new every day, right? But yeah, it'll be a it'll be just a fun. So for me, the GSXR 600, it's a bit of an interesting bike in a lot of ways, but they are always these Gixxer middleweights are always in some way, shape, or form a trip down memory lane. I've got a video that I want to do, and some of y'all might think it's a little bit corny, but I want to do another night ride video. I really liked doing that night ride video for you guys. And there's a bit of a topic that I want to get to. And I think it'd be a cool setting. But anyway, if you see another night ride coming up, it's going to be, I hope, a pretty cool video for you guys. Let's see. The breather. I need to get a new element for the breather for this thing. The you know, the little what do you call it? The, I guess, diffuser. That media is pretty much cooked, which you would expect. You really would. In fact, you don't even need media back there. I don't even know what it's honestly there for. Anyway, it's that stuff. Like that plastic, I guess it's there to kind of absorb some of that. I don't know, reason why you need to absorb the oil. Maybe to slow it from getting into the air box. Right now, what I'm doing is I'm just digging around in there with my pinky to get it cleaned out. In fact, I'm going to do this. I'm going to put something over those throttle bodies. Hang on just a second now. Hang on. Yes, I'm not forgetting where I put my wrap. All right, here we go. I don't want to get any of this oil residue in there, in those throttle bodies. Yeah, there is a lot of funk in there. Ew. But this is why, and this is what you got to do with any of these bikes when you get a pre-owned bike. There's really no telling what all has gone on with that thing. Hang on a second, guys. You catch up with some of y'all's questions real quick. Fragile's asking, are you going to do a video on setting up suspension with compression, rebound, and sag for the 600 and 750 for those of us who've never adjusted from factory to have a good ballpark on how to do it? I can, absolutely. I've kind of done that with the blue GSXR 750. I did a basic walkthrough, but I'm happy to do that with the 600 too, because that's part of my onboarding process. But I will say this though, for very aggressive riding, and I'm talking about, let's say, top of B group type of riding. If you're doing track days, I mean, you could even play around in A group with the stock setting. Well, maybe not A group. For sure, B group though, you can have all the fun in the world with the settings as they are stock. And on the street, believe it or not, I literally just, I will validate the stock settings. I do things a little bit differently with how I set and how I preload my initial sag settings. But aside from that, man, these GSXR middleweights are just chef's kiss right out of the box, guys. I mean, listen, I would tell you if they're not. I mean, look, with that 636, I did a ton of work with that bike to try to get it to where it would act even remotely as close as these GSXR middleweights do right out of the box. So let me get you guys a little bit better shot over here. There we go. They really, really are that good. And the crazy thing about it is that no two bikes are the same. The gray, so let me show you guys something here. Okay, so Smokey, AKA Shadow, AKA Stormy, AKA the gray bike. This bike was set up a little bit different from the factory than the Side Chick, the blue bike. So the difference though wasn't very much, but it was just enough to where when I was checking sag and when I was setting the bike up and doing the normal route that we do, I put a little bit more preload into this bike, but also keep in mind it's got a 190/55 rear tire, so it sits a little bit higher in the rear. which does bring the rake in a little bit, which makes this bike really good at mid corner and on corner exit. I can carry with this bike, just because of the slightly higher rear tire, you wouldn't think it would make that much of a difference. But in our favorite little S-turn, when we go visit our favorite pair of stop signs, I can absolutely bury the throttle on this thing on corner exit, and it just sticks right wherever the line is that I want to put it on. The blue bike, it's the same, it really is, but the difference with the blue bike with running the stock size rear tire is that it will have a tendency when on the side of the tire, when the rear suspension loads up, what will happen is when the rear suspension loads up, what you're doing is you're changing the rake a little bit on the front. It's just like physically what's going to happen. And the blue bike, because it sits a little bit lower in the rear, will actually trend wide. That's not a good thing. So if you've got a GSXR 750, not necessarily the 600, maybe the 600 too, but if you've got a GSXR 750, I would really much, highly recommend going with a 190/55 on the back of that bike, and mainly just because of how good the bike will actually hold the line. Now, I will say this, both of them are awesome, and I carry a lot of corner speed with GSXR middleweights. So they've always been like that for me. For me, I can't say enough good things about how these bikes come from the factory, way they're set up. Hang on just a second, y'all. Tell you what, man, there is a lot of funk in this thing. All right, let me swing you guys back over here. Y'all can see what I am up to. Let me check back in with you guys. Bruce is asking, do you have a video on your camera and audio setup for riding? I was thinking about buying a Senna C10. Man, here's what I have, okay? And I've got a Insta360. Well, hold on, I'll show you. Hang on a second. All right, here we go. So here's the rig. Scorpion, what is this, an A320? Arguably one of the best helmets on the planet, in my opinion, for doing this kind of work. They're very inexpensive and they're very quiet. This thing is one of the quietest helmets that I've ever used. And it's one of the least expensive too. Anyway, got an Insta360 with a chin mount. And then underneath, I have a, what is it, a Purple Panda? I think is what it's called. If you can see up in there where the microphone is. Here you go. You can see the dead cat right here where my finger is. Anyway, the microphone, you can see the cable to it. The mic is way up front right here. So when I've got the helmet on and I'm talking, that microphone is basically right here by my face, by my mouth. Here's one of the issues that I do run into with this though, and I've got to be real mindful when I'm doing the, it doesn't really affect the ride and review videos because I don't really ride fast on the ride and reviews videos that I do for the world famous Stub Cycles in beautiful Houston, Texas. But what I do run into a problem with is if I'm not thinking about it and I'm not really mindful, I'm riding at my normal street pace, it's just a little bit too fast in terms of wind buffeting inside of here. So I've got to be mindful of that. As long as I keep it like normal speeds, like normal people speeds, then I'm in good shape. But if I start getting a little bit too fast, then the audio quality takes a major dump. But hopefully that helps you out. That's the full setup. That's the full rig. Josh, this would depend on rider weight, right? I'll tell you what, it would, but if you are anywhere between 155 pounds and 210 pounds, The Gixxer middleweights are really, really, really good. I would even say 220, 230. I've never, even when I was a lot heavier than I am now, not a lot heavier, but even when I was heavier than I am now, I didn't have any issues at all with the Gixxer middleweights. Or when I was a lot lighter than I am now, didn't have that issue. Ryan says, the old lady likes the Rocket 3. Nice. Josh is saying, boom. So what I'm doing, so we'll get back to it. So I'm trying to dig the media out of the oil baffle on this thing. Ugh, it's gross. Ew, that can't be good for you. Ew. Getting her all cleaned up. You know, it's crazy. This bike ended up suffering a very similar set of issues in its life, not recently, as my dad's bike did. In regards to the ethanol issues, with this bike having to be basically torn down and cleaned up because of it. Armite's asking, is the storm supposed to be bad where you're at in Texas? Comparatively, no. It is, but it is not non-existent. I mean, we're definitely going to get some. We're going to get some funky, but it ain't going to be bad. It's going to be nothing like what it was back in whenever it was, when it got down to like, man, it was like down to 18 degrees, but it was below 20 degrees for, golly, it had to have been below, well, it was below freezing for a week. And none of the structures down here are designed to deal with that kind of stuff. So that was a real problem. But now it's not going to be anything like what it was before. I can assure you of that. And really, as long as you've got about half the day where it's above freezing, you're usually going to be okay. But we are definitely taking precautions this time through. Ryan saying it's 2 degrees right now in Missouri with wind chill of -14 right now. Fuck that. Oh my gosh. That is insane, my bro. Damn. Yeah, that's crazy cold. Yeah, it's really interesting about the velocity stacks on this bike. I did not know that the longer one, well, I mean, marginally longer ones are on the outside. Who knew? Ugh. This baffle area is just nourished. I will at some point get the little mesh thing that goes in here, but for right now it doesn't really matter. Ain't no biggie. That's one of those like $5 parts that you absolutely forget about over and over and over again. What's kind of funny is that mesh thing really did kind of just disintegrate. So check your mesh things, y'all. What I may do is, not that it really probably needs it, but what I might do is I may go ahead and pull the hose off the back of it and pull the breather off. And just clean out that entire area too. That'll be something that I might get done tomorrow. Bruce saying it was -17 with a wind chill of -36. I think if you owe nature temperature, it's too dang cold. Jen saying, hi there, brother. What are your thoughts on the ideas that 600s are bad daily riders? Stupid statement. If anybody ever told you that, they're lying. I always wonder, since I'm considering a GSXR 600 myself as a second bike. Dude, let me tell you something about the 600s. Of the super sports that you could get your hands on, the GSXR 600 would make the best daily commuter out of all of them. Let me explain why. It's got the gruntiest nature of the four-cylinder 600s. CBR 600's close, but the suspension setup is, for me anyway, way better. To me, it feels more, it's taut, but it's not stiff, if that makes any sense. They've got plenty of pickup. This thing will go plenty fast. I mean, it's not like it won't keep up with traffic. This thing will do over 150 miles an hour indicated easily. I just did it today. But there's plenty of grunt. These bikes have relatively aggressive gearing, but it's not so aggressive that it's not usable. So yeah, I mean, well, I'll put it to you like this. When I was in college, I used a Honda Hurricane as my daily rider to go from San Marcos into New Braunfels to go to work, or to Seguin, or to Riley, Texas to go to work. So yeah, I never really had an issue with that bike in that respect. Yeah, don't let anybody tell you that you couldn't daily one of these bikes. In fact, I'll even do you even one better than that. I'll do you one even better than that. My dad. So I grew up in and around motorcycles. My dad had a Ninja 600 that he did use for his daily ride. My dad used to work nights. Some of you guys that are on the show a lot have heard me talk about my dad, but I would go to work sometimes with my dad, and he had his buddies. My dad did a lot of street racing because he worked at night. His buddies would be out racing, so he'd be out there with them. Anyway, one of his motorcycles that it wasn't really for racing, it was literally a commuter bike, it was a 80... Shit. It was the red, white, and blue bike. 86 GSXR, Ninja 600. And I really like that bike too. That is the first motorcycle, by the way. Fun fact, that's the first motorcycle I ever went over 100 miles an hour on. And I did that 100 miles an hour on the back of that bike with my dad riding it. So if y'all ever wonder where I get it from, now you know. Anyway, what I'm doing, guys, is I'm cleaning out that breather. This is the breather hose itself. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna blow some compressed air through this. Got some condensation. Oh, I don't know if you guys saw that. So what dripped out of here, let me see if you guys show this. This is why it's so important that you always let your bike warm up all the way before you ride it. Once you fire up that bike and it starts to get warm, when it cools off, especially in humid areas, it'll condensate. Water can get in there and condensate. So anyway, you just saw it first right here. It does really happen. So the idea is that will cook off once the oil gets hot. But if you don't get it hot enough, like you're just starting it up, moving things around, doing stuff like that, you can get some condensation in your oil. So there you go. You saw it here. Not only educational, or not only entertaining, but educational too. All right, let's get in here and blow this out. We get a rag. Here we go. blown out. We're all learning things today, huh? Yeah, I'm getting all kinds of that stuff out of here, so. Yeah, the hell was that? Put this over that breather. I'm gonna make a big mess. Yeah. So the reason why I'm doing this, just so you know, guys, what I don't want is I don't want any of that breather media to find its way back through this hose by the magic of just my luck, right? And then to get into the crankcase itself. So what we're doing, is what I'm covered in over here, what we're doing is we're getting all of that media out of the breather, making it all nice and super clean. And then later on, I'll just get a new little media mesh to go in there, and it'll be good for another 10 or 12 years. But that is why I am over here making the mess that I'm making. Let's get the shit off of this thing. And this is, admittedly, this is a little over the top, okay? I get it. A little bit OCD, but it works for me. No, the reason why I'm doing this again is just making sure that I've got a fresh place to start. Now, I'm not saying you would have to do this on every used motorcycle that you ever come into contact with, but this is just part of like best practices. And look, you're gonna have to put some elbow grease into any used bike that you get. That's just, I mean, consider that as part of it. Plus, oh, and this is the other thing. Hold on. I feel like I'm Grover. I'm doing near far over here. Near. Okay. So another reason why I'm doing this the way that I'm doing it is if you're new to bikes, and you are like, this might be your first motorcycle that you're working on, and you've only worked on bicycles before that. This is just showing you this is absolutely normal. Working on your bike, doing this kind of stuff, this is how you develop the knowledge of how the machine works. It's kind of weird. It'll make you a better rider too. I can't really explain this, but I know that it's a real thing. But me knowing how this thing works helps me to understand some of the feedback that I get. Not necessarily how a breather works, but just the general knowledge of how this contraption does its thing. The other thing is that I will personally know that all of this is done and all of this is good. Sometimes having the knowledge of how something works can almost work against you, which in a way is how it is with this. So the reason why I say that is I know that this can be a thing, so I'm going to check it and I'm going to fix it. Sometimes ignorance is bliss, and this could be a complete non-issue that I'm just turning into a thing. But I would rather know that it's done right than know that I know that it's not done right, if that makes any sense. Oh, Bruce is hanging out with Ryan. Yeah, that's cold. That's way too cold. Oh, Jinsei, oh, thanks for the response. It's common on YouTube. No, it's not a bad daily. Here's the thing. The funny issue when it comes to any kind of bike is, you know, comfort is subjective. Personally, I am not comfortable on very upright motorcycles. It's not good for me. It just doesn't, like, my brain isn't wired for that. Now, granted, I rode mainly sport bikes my entire life, so I'm kind of wired maybe that way. If I'd been riding cruisers or something, maybe that wouldn't have been the case. But I guess the idea here is that, people have been dailying these things for decades. So I think we are going to be just fine if you want to take one. But listen, you might get on the thing and decide, oh, this is great. I can't believe these people are saying what they're saying. Or you could get on the thing and go, oh my God, that bald guy didn't know what the hell he's talking about. This thing's miserable. So it's just up to you. But for me, on a 600 like this, I can spend all day on this thing and not ever get tired of it. And I mean all day long. I think I've gotten most of the funk out of here. I believe I do. Hang on just a second. By the way, yes, I know it would probably be a lot easier if I removed the air box, but it would be I'm just saving a bunch more time. Plus I have compressed air, so I win. There we go. Close enough for government, boys. All right, let me wash this stuff off my hands. Hold, please. Hold, please. Hang on now, hang on. All right, there we go. Oh yeah, the blue GSXR 750 is going to be donating her factory air filter, which is a lot cleaner than the one that just came off the 600, as we can see. There we go. It's one of the good things about the GSXR family of middleweights. There's a lot of interchangeable parts between the two. And the only reason why I think that's funny is that pretty much everything for the 600 and the 750. I mean, outside of some very specific engine parts, are interchangeable. Jen said, I personally like the 600 because I like switching gears more often. I'll tell you what, the Gixxer 600 is kind of grunty. I mean, its gear selection is kind of at your discretion with that thing. Let's get our, you know what, I'm going to clean this thing up while I got it out. Hold, please. Hang on. Running amok here. There we go. This is another thing, top tip if you're working on something. This is like one of those dad tips, I guess. It may not seem like it means anything. It's just a hose, right? Well, here's the thing. Clean it up as you go. Does it do anything? Probably not, but it gives you an opportunity to handle the part and to check it, make sure there's no cracks, nothing that would cause it to, be a point of failure. But yeah, I'm a big fan of, clean as you go. If you're working on something, put it back on the bike, cleaner or better than you found it. See what I mean? We're getting some funk off of this thing already. Doesn't take any more time to do, but it certainly is the right thing to do. It's real easy to just go ahead and throw things back on and forget about it, right? Like, why would you think about that again anyway? Well, I just want to make sure that it's clean and that I know that it is a still very viable, very functional piece of my bike, man. All right. You get this thing put back together. Get it together. Here we go. My very best Billy D. Williams there. All right, here we go. This breather, by the way, very important part of your motorcycle. So do not neglect that. All right. Woo. Getting her all cleaned up. And from here, it's pretty much C-spot run. We're going to throw the lid back on here. We've got the new air filter, or at least new to this bike, air filter. We have confirmed that this bike has longer velocity stacks on the outside than it does on the inside. I never would have guessed that, by the way. Bruce is saying, or asking, when buying used bikes, at what mileage point should someone pass on buying it? That doesn't really, there's not a mileage. Perfect example of that. Okay, which motorcycle do you think may end up winning most surprising bike of the year? Concourse 14. That bike was a riot to ride. Hauled butt, and in an off-camera moment, pulled one of the prettiest power wheelies you've ever seen. Thing looks like a spaceship, like aliens are coming down to visit on that bike. As fast as it was, it probably could have made it to the moon. But here's the thing. That bike has got 47,000 miles on it. I don't think I mentioned that in that video. Honestly, I don't even know if that bike's still at the shop. Anyway, that bike has almost 50 whole ass thousand miles on it, and it runs like a top. So a lot of this is what will make the difference. Having a direct line of sight to the history on that motorcycle, that's what you should really pay more attention to than the actual mileage. Here's the thing. Don't necessarily worry about the mileage on the bike itself. With a maintenance history that may also include bearings being greased, head bearings being greased, wheel bearings being greased, chains being replaced, chains and sprockets being replaced, fuel pumps maybe being replaced. The consumable parts like that are really what I would look for. If those parts have been, if they've been maintained and the bike has had regular oil changes, believe it or not, man, these things can last for a very long time, especially the Gixxers. So use your best judgment with the bike that you're looking at, but realistically speaking, there's not a hard and fast rule. A lot of guys get a little bit sketchy at about 25 to 30,000 miles. Bruce saying there's a different rider for a Concourse and a Gixxer 750. Not in my book. I mean, that Concourse is a riot. And by as many people as had commented on that bike too, on that video, the number of views. If I were to get a bike like I just wanted something to eat up miles, I may not have even remembered that the Concourse was a thing. Because it's I don't really see it as a touring bike, but it is. That thing is fast. I mean, I'll put it to you like this. I don't want to say it's as fast as a GSXR 750, but I mean, it's easily 600 super sport fast, I would say. So, and that's a fast ass bike. I mean, we're not talking about, small potatoes here, boys. By the way, this is one of those fun things. The center screws on this airbox are fun to try to get in there. Bruce said, I've always liked the Concourse and the FJ 1300. A friend of mine had an FJ 1300. That bike, he loved it, but he wanted something that was going to be a little bit more I guess you could say long distance, like mega marathon style, long distance appropriate. But he really liked that FJ. And I think everybody that has FJs really like them. I'm not sure. I think the FJ is rated at 130 horse. I think. Is that right? Anyway, I know the Concourse is 155. I believe it's 155, but damn, that bike feels like it's a lot more powerful. Hey, how about that K1600? What was up with that bike? You want to talk about creepy fast. So if the Concourse, how do I put this? Okay, if the Concourse isn't the most surprising bike, because I expected it to be pretty fast, I have to admit. But if the Concourse doesn't win it, it's going to probably have to go, now that I'm thinking about it, to the K1600. Let me bring you guys over here because I feel like I'm yelling across the room at you. That K1600 was creepy fast. And I'm not even saying that for effect. Or I'm not trying to say it for effect. The K1600, one of the funny things about that bike that you just don't really, it doesn't come up on camera. The seating position was really weird on that particular bike. It had a custom seat in it, and it forced the rider to be very, like you're riding a horse almost, like you're in the cavalry. Not that in essence was a bad thing, but it was whenever you would come to a complete stop, the riding position of that bike was such that it had you, it was awkward for me at first. And then I got used to it, and obviously I was having fun with it, but the only weird thing about the Concourse, and I mentioned this at the tail end of that video, was when, okay, so a lot of those ride review videos, I'll go to the back lot at Stubbs Cycles, Stubbs Harley Davidson, and that is that's an MSF course back there. And I'll play around with the bike on the MSF course, to give you guys an idea for how the bike will manage slow speeds. And one of the things that kind of threw me off about the Concourse and how weird that bike can be to ride is it will remind you that it's a Concourse. The thing is long. It's a long-ass bike. So it felt like, at low speeds, it felt like a tandem bicycle. Like I felt like I had a lot of bike hanging off the ass and that I was just much more forward. I guess the best way I could put it was I've never ridden one of the long stretched out motorcycles, but if I could imagine what it's like to ride one of those, that's kind of how the Concourse felt. It felt like a stretched ZX10 with riser handlebars and a lot of luggage on the back of it. So, I mean, that's not a bad thing. It's kind of a cool thing, really. Think about it. But yeah, kind of an interesting thing for me with that Concourse. Because I forgot. The reason why I forgot that it was such a big bike is because it really did just do everything so well. As it pertains to just being a fun, sporty bike. you know, you start getting into the slow parts and it's like, oh crap, yeah, that's right. This thing's a freaking touring bike. I'm just going back through and making sure that I tightened everything properly. These center bolts or nuts or whatever, they're so like buried in this thing, this airbox, this top of this airbox. You need a screwdriver that's about a foot long to get down in here. I want to say that this one is probably fine. I've actually got a rig. Hang on a second, let me get something real quick. I had made a tool that I could use to get way down in here, and just like my keys and everything else, I can't find it. Okay, that one is good. One of the things with these screws too in the airbox, you don't want to just wrist them up. You want to get them like nice and like finger tight. Make sure that the threads are seated, but don't overdo it. It's easy to, you know, forget that you're actually, you know, you're twisting these things into plastic. You're not twisting it into metal, and there's no metal sleeve behind it. So be careful out there with these things. All right, let me get the little stay for the ECU. And again, what I'll end up doing is I'll just end up getting another one of those mesh things for the oil breather later on, but I'm happy with it. It's blown out. We blew out the hose and we blew out the little trough where that resides. I don't really know what it does though. Like, it's not, I guess it acts more like a filter in a way, but thing is, any air that would get to it is already filtered. So I'm not really sure what it is that it is protecting it from. It's not like it's dust or anything like that. I guess I don't have a bug crawled in there, but anyway, if a bug did crawl in, it would still have to get past the filter. I don't know. All right. So this has been a fun video to do. I was able to hang out with you guys, show you some how-to stuff, did a little bit of problem solving. What else did we do? Learned a little bit about a gas tank stay for a Gixxer. And again, you can, these things are kind of expensive too, but they work really well. So I highly recommend. Let's see. Oh, Jen's, I must have missed something. Any advice for improving skills? Practice, playtime. That's the most important thing. You can take all the lessons in the world that you want, that you can study up, whatever. None of that, listen, you have to put it into practice, man. And that's why you hear me talk about practice and getting out there and having fun. One of the key things that my dad taught me about riding, when it really comes down to it, you got to play. You got to get out there and enjoy the bike. I'm not saying press your luck, but push your skill set. Be mindful. This is the other thing. It's mindful practice. What I want you to do is I want you to practice just looking through the corner, looking where you want to be. Don't look right in front of you, because right in front of you is already done. Look where you want to go and practice following that line. Practice registering in your head where the exit is. Again, practicing where you want to go. Start with that. That is just the bedrock in terms of cornerstones of being able to, learn how to ride safely, fastly, slowly. It doesn't matter. You got to do that. And what I'm going to do is with the 600, what I'm going to do is I'm going to be going back to basics. So I'm going to find a parking lot, and I'm just going to do some just super easy things. We're going to do, some figure 8 drills. We're going to do some looking where you want to go drills. We're going to do some stopping drills. So a lot of that's probably, I'm going to have to do some of that over at Stubbs. I've got another parking lot over by the marina that I could probably use. But what I want to do is I want to focus on, not just, the turning and the stopping, and I don't want to hear about counter steer and none of that. You do all of that instinctively. What I want to show is trail braking and how to trail brake and roll off of the brake, looking where you want to go. Closing speed, understanding closing speed, and everything that comes with that part of riding. So there's a lot of stuff that I want to do, and the 600 is going to be the bike that I'll be doing that on. Ryan said he showed the old lady the FTR. Good bike. Like that bike. Armac saying, well, how I did was just ride every day for about 3 months in the summer. Yeah, that's it. And then you start getting better. And then again, it's playtime. It's having fun. It's, again, it's not pushing your luck. It's just testing your skill set, understanding that you're never going to be perfect. Even professionals aren't perfect, guys. So realistically, you don't have anything to live up to. There's not a standard that you have to get to that is, okay, I have now mastered this craft. You haven't. There's no such thing. You can become a complete guru on a GSXR 1000. That's not really going to translate to cruiser guy, right? There's a whole different set of concerns and riding techniques that you would employ on, say, a road glide versus a GS 850, right? So there's a lot that you will eventually learn that will translate into all bikes, but the reality is that as long as you're having fun, everything is going to be in a fluid state. When you are in that flow zone, you're fine. You're going to be having a blast, and the bike just kind of becomes the other part of you. And that's one of the things. Remember that this is one of the beautiful things about motorcycles that a lot of folks don't get. Even when you try to explain it to them, they don't really get it. Cars, it's a climate controlled cage that you drive around from A to B, right? Even sports cars, to me, are boring, mainly because the view out of the windshield's always the same, no matter what car you're in. But with bikes, you are integral to the organism that is created by you being on the bike. Hell, you've got to be on the bike for the bike to just stand up, right? So you are part of the aerodynamic coefficient of that machine. You are part of the weight distribution and how that bike handles. That's the cool thing about bikes. So that's why you can be a master of one and a novice at another one in the exact same day. So just saying. Yeah, Fred was saying, just keep practicing, get out there and have fun. Thomas is asking a good question. What are the benefits of the 600 versus the 750 if they're on the same chassis? Well, I'll put it to you like this. The GSXRs, they're funny, really, because they're meant for different things. The 600 exists because there's a race class for the 600. It's the Super Sport class. The 750 exists because there was a race class for it. It was World Superbike. But I think I'm getting that part of it right. Anyway, I start to get all the race classes mixed up, but Super Sport is that, and 750s are now part of the next gen Super Sports. So the 750, well, I guess really the 600 shares the 750's chassis. But here's the thing, the 600 is more aggressively geared than the 750. Matter of fact, if you do the math as far as what the actual twist, not torque to the rear wheels, I'm talking about the actual amount of turning force that's not measured on a dyno, which should be, because that's what matters. They're practically the same. The 750 just has more grunt in general, but it's a lot like comparing a 750 to 1,000. The 750 just makes more horsepower, but because the 600 is a lot smoother, the engine is smaller, so it's not very buzzy. Not that the 750 is, but the 600 is a lot smoother bike, but it's also kind of grunty for the type of bike that it is. So you can flip a coin between the two bikes, and they're both very, very good. They're a lot of fun to ride. Let's see. Jen said, I think they mean what's the benefit? Oh, well, hopefully I answered that question. So I ride both of them, and okay, the 600 is less expensive, and you don't have to put an exhaust on it to really extract all the power out of it. It's kind of already there. But that's kind of also true for the 750, because these bikes are not very much, or not as restricted. They're still restricted a little bit up top, but not by as much as you might think. Even less so for the 600. Again, it's smoother. The initial setup of the suspension is a little bit more compliant, but they use the same components. Man, it's just a personality between the two. But the 600 is a lot of fun. They're both very fun. But the 600 it exists because there's a race class specifically for it. And unfortunately, the 750, here's the funny thing about the 750. It is so restricted in that particular race class by comparison that it's almost, I mean, it's a handicapped bike in that race class, and it still kicks ass. Ryan's wanting a Buell Hammer test ride. Me and you both. Oh, Thomas saying, I have a 750, but would love to try a 600 sometime. Be careful. You might fall in love. 600s, they're so buttery smooth by comparison that, man, I got to tell you, it really does. I'm not going to say it begs a question of why does a 750 exist. I mean, the 750s, that's my sweetheart, right? But man, these little 600s can be really good. And especially this one right here. But guys, with that, I got to wrap it up. I'm going to get this thing sorted out, starting to get it put back together. Oh, wait, hold on. Next on the agenda, this is kind of funny. New Rage tail tidy, which was double shipped to me. So thank you, Amazon. But all the bikes always get these New Rage tucked. Well, I guess it's a tucked one. I don't know. Was it a tucked? Who knows? It was free, so whatever it is, that's what I'm putting on the bike. But with that, I am going to go ahead and wrap it up. Jen saying 750 is the best 600 of all time. Indeed. Happy birthday to the GSXR 750. This is its 40th year. I guess really 41st model year. But with that, I mean, it's been giving us, the best of all worlds ever since then. But guys, I got to check out. Hope you guys have a good time tonight. Fun videos for me anytime I get a chance to hang out in the garage, work with you guys. You guys help me work on stuff. I like it. Hey, get out there and do something cool for somebody. Chances are they need it way more than you know. I'm going to get back to work. Y'all take it easy.